We've got a very exciting webinar lined up for this morning and 4 speakers who are going to share the results of a 3-year sustainable materials management pilot funded by DEEP to address Connecticut's growing waste challenges. Our session today will feature speakers from Connecticut DEEP, Waste Zero, the town of Woodbury, and the town of Guilford, who are going to speak about their experience with the pilot. So we're really excited and grateful to our speakers for spending time out of their morning to join us today and share their stories. Our coffee hour today is being recorded for those who couldn't join us. And for those who are here and you'd like to review what we've covered, you'll have access to this. We'll send it out and it will also be available on our YouTube channel. And you can search YouTube for Sustainable CT. You'll find us there and we'll also put the link in the chat. While you're there, be sure to check out this month's episode of The Impact, a Sustainable CT podcast. New episodes are available on the 15th of every month on YouTube, on our website, and wherever you get your podcasts. And this month, we've had a great conversation with Dave Dixon, who is the director of Yukon Clear, which is the Center for Land Use Education and Research. Dave's a great guy. He's also a member of our board of directors, and we hope you enjoy him. And I have to tell you all, this is my opportunity, Happy Earth Month. We're acknowledging and celebrating Earth Day throughout this month of April, and you can join us on one of our Earth Month tours. We have 2 remaining, one in Stonington, and that's the Circa Resilient Mystic Project. That will be on April 24th from 3 to 4 p.m. We just put a link to register in the chat. And the second is the Yukon Low Impact Development Project. And that will be on April 28th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And you're getting a link to that in the chat as well. We hope you can join us. These tours provide practical, real-world information you can use to improve sustainability and build resilience in your community. Don't wait to register. Space is limited, but we're excited to offer these, and we're hoping that they're useful to you in the work that you're doing. And just one shameless plug, I've got to do it. The Connecticut General Assembly is making critical budget decisions next week, and we do request your support. For those who have already reached out to your legislators, thank you so much. If you haven't yet and feel compelled, we'll put a link to legislators' email addresses in the chat. We are requesting $1 million over 2 years for funding for Sustainable CT to continue the work that we do. And again, we couldn't do this work without you. We appreciate the support, the ongoing support, the network that we're building together, and the state that we're making together. So thank you so much for your support. That's enough from me. I want to turn it over now to Jennifer Weymouth from Connecticut DEEP, who's going to kick us off and talk through our really, really exciting session this morning. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jess. Always great to be here with Sustainable CT community. Let me share my screen and get it up in slide mode. Great. Looking for a nod of the head, maybe that you can see. Great. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here this morning. We're going to save all of our questions till the end, but as you think of them, please pop them in the chat, and we'll address them after all 4 presenters. So today I'm just going to go through a few highlights from our forthcoming final report from our Sustainable Materials Management Grant Program. So with the funding that we received from the legislature, we were able to fund 15 municipal pilots. Many of them were transfer stations and the rest were curbside. We had them trying out different types of collection methods, and they implemented this, what we're calling a voluntary or unit-based pricing light program with food scrap collection. And when I say unit-based pricing light, residents were asked to limit the amount of trash that they threw away to 2 bags per week, and they received free trash bags and free food scrap bags. So that's in contrast to traditional mandatory unit-based pricing program where you're paying per unit. So you'll see here that we've had 8 communities that have gone on to adopt or are adopting permanent programs, which is really exciting. And we're going to walk through some of that data today. And 7 of those communities pilots concluded. So this is showing in the top section of the chart, we've got our curbside communities. In the bottom, we've got some transfer station communities. And this is showing that we had a range of waste reduction and diversion results from anywhere from 1 to 17%. That's about an average of 10% waste reduction for the pilots. And the top 3 performers, Ansonia, Middletown, and Deep River, had 17% waste reduction. These variances between these figures is due to the different ways that the programs were implemented, including, how residential outreach was rolled out. What I also want to highlight here is that we are able to determine where those materials went. And so obviously, adding a food scrap collection program, you're going to have food scraps diverted to either compost or anaerobic digester. And so that is that middle blue column there. And then all the way on the right, you'll see that the remaining waste reduction diversion is attributed to recycling and source reduction. The pilots diverted over 1,000 tons of food scraps, or 2 million pounds of food scraps. Stonington's pilot alone diverted 750,000 pounds of food scraps. I'd like to highlight Middletown. What I will say is Mayor Florsheim, Middletown couldn't be here today, but Mayor Florsheim did attend and present at DEEP's CCSMM meeting back in January, which we recorded. So what I plan on doing is adding a link to that clip on this slide so that you guys can all hear from Mayor Florsheim about their program. But this chart is showing something that we like to track here at DEEP when we do have good data from municipalities, which is the pounds per capita waste disposal. And for the state as a whole, residents are disposing of about 750 pounds per person per year. With Middletown's Save As You Throw and food scrap program, in their downtown sanitation district, they're disposing of 37% less waste than the state average. And Stonington is, with their longstanding pay-as-you-throw program and food scraps, is disposing of 47% less than the state average. So that's really exciting and something to be congratulating these towns for. Okay. So what I wanted to highlight here was that the programs that are converting to mandatory unit-based pricing are actually seeing a more significant reduction in waste over the pilot data and over the baseline data. So for Woodbury, and I know our first selectman Perkinson's going to address this, but they're seeing a 47% reduction of municipal solid waste in the first 4 months. Kent's transfer station is seeing a 28% reduction in the first 2 months. And then the Guilford Madison transfer station, who we also have here today, is showing a 36% reduction of municipal solid waste in the first 3 months. Now, compare that to the chart that we saw previously, which showed the pilots were achieving anywhere from 1 to 17% waste reduction and diversion. So that addition of a mandatory program is really what pushes these programs forward and achieving additional waste reduction and diversion. Another metric that we're tracking with the pilots is the food scrap capture rate. And food scrap capture rate is really calculated based on on DEEP's 2015 waste characterization, basically estimating that about 22% of the waste stream is food scraps. And so what we're able to track with the pilots is, out of that available material, out of that available 22%, what are the pilots capturing? And so In Woodbury's case, you'll see in that yellowy orange color, in August, around when we were starting to get some of their first data, we see that they were capturing about 20% food scraps out of the available portion of the waste stream. And then when they implemented their unit-based pricing, permanent unit-based pricing program, you'll see that they jumped up to 40% immediately, and then have even gone beyond that in previous months. You'll see that Guilford, Madison Transfer Station, and Kent Transfer Station are following similar paths. And then here it's showing something similar, essentially that transfer stations with the standard unit-based pricing program are capturing more available food scraps than programs either without unit-based pricing or with a different form or version of unit-based pricing. We were able to gather data from food scrap programs from other transfer stations across the state. And you'll see that that food scrap capture rate kind of ranges from, 2% all the way up to 20% or so. But with the standard unit-based pricing program in Kent and Woodbury, you're seeing a significant more capture of those food scraps. So what the data is showing is that we're finding that, voluntary or unit-based pricing light can work and can result in waste reduction, which is great. And that's what the pilots are showing us. But these full mandatory programs are having a more significant impact on waste diversion and food scrap capture. As I mentioned before, the pilots, we had a range of different types of collection systems and demographics, and no matter what those towns looked like, we are seeing that they consistently captured more materials from the waste stream just by standardizing the process and asking them to participate in the program. When you add unit-based pricing to your program, that often can offset the costs of food scrap transportation and processing, which is a great added benefit for those transfer stations that are, and you'll hear more about that, who are adding that mandatory aspect of unit-based pricing. For implementation, we're finding that it's a lot easier to adopt and more likely to adopt unit-based pricing at transfer stations. Most of them already assess a fee for items or charge a permit fee. So because residents are already paying something, there's less of a jump to ask them to pay for the trash that they're generating. And curbside co-collection of materials is also feasible. We've found that residents will participate in a co-collection model, and that there is evidence that co-collection is significantly less expensive than operating a separate curbside collection program. But obviously, we're noting here that for the programs to be sustainable, we need the infrastructure for sorting and processing. And lastly, several of the municipalities established a waste working group, which we believe really helped push that program towards adoption. They were able to make the recommendation to town officials and also help with educating residents. And also it's important to have a local program champion who understands unit-based pricing and engaged town officials as part of the process. I wanted to just share quickly that both SMART and unit-based pricing, and we call it SMART through the Sustainable CT actions, and also calculating your per capita disposal metric can be awarded points through Sustainable CT's program. Those are actions 9.2 and 9.1. Depending on how much you do, there's a range of different points available. And I'm sure if you have questions about that, Jess or I could help with that as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Kristen Brown with Waste Zero. And she's going to talk about how communities can use some of these results that we've learned from the pilots to inform your sustainability goals and plans for waste reduction.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Kristen.
I'm Kristen Brown, and yep, hi. Can you all see my screen here?
Not
so
yet.
I'm Kristen Brown. For those of you who don't, can you see it now?
Yes, looks good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kristen Brown. I'm from Waste Zero. Some of you know me. I've been working with unit-based pricing and in the trash for about 35 years. So I've seen a lot of different programs over those years in both US and Europe. And I will say that the SNM pilot I have ever seen around the world. Over 3 years, we took 15 municipalities and brought them through a process. All of them had some form of unit-based pricing. And the results to me were phenomenal. And that's really what I want to talk about is how unit-based pricing really is the key to waste reduction. It's the key toward getting closer to zero waste. So as you evaluate programs going forward, it's so important to think of unit-based pricing as the engine that makes all of those programs move closer to zero waste. So I'm going to hit on a couple things here: economics, equity, and mostly the environment. But the first two are important, and Jen did not really touch on this. It is important to me. Again, I've been doing this for 35 years. When I started, there were about 6,000 landfills in the United States. Today, there's just over 1,000. So as landfills close, new landfills don't open. We have 75 waste to energy facilities in the US, and the last facility that was built was in Florida, and that was in 2010. So the issue that we're having here is communities don't want to have a landfill or an incinerator in their backyard. So it's very, very difficult to site a new site. So as these close, yes, a couple of landfills will continue to open, but it's more and more difficult to site those landfills. And yet our waste in the United States really is not decreasing. So the cost of waste is going up significantly. I will tell you that the city of Albany is closing their landfill, which is a regional landfill around the capital region. Their new tipping fees are looking like a little over $200 a ton. So if you know your tipping fee, in Connecticut, I think we determined the average right now is around $104 a ton. Some of you are seeing $130, but just think about that. Albany is seeing over $200 a ton. On the West Coast, we see over $200. So these prices continue to rise because there is a crisis. So unit-based pricing is that tool that reduces the trash and helps offset those costs. Again, this is just another look at the waste crisis. 40% and 50%, 40% of Connecticut and 50% of Massachusetts trash is going south toward Ohio, Pennsylvania. And these landfills are now, looking at their costs and charging for more and more. So that's why costs are rising so quickly. The other thing I just want to touch on here, which is important, is we want to get the food scraps out of the waste stream. I know this is sustainable CT, so you really do understand the importance of this, but food waste is a large contributor to our greenhouse gas emissions. But the hard part about getting the food scraps out of the waste stream, really two things, is there's a cost to doing it, and you have to get enough participation to help really truly offset that cost. The equity challenge to me is something that comes up with unit-based pricing and certainly came up in each of these community structures as we design these pilot programs. And I think maybe the best way to look at this is at $104 a ton, which is the average pounds per capita, the lower third of the generators, we're paying about 33 cents a pound for everything we throw away if you average it out. The middle generators are paying about 6 cents a pound, and the high waste generators are only paying about 3 cents a pound. So it's like we're supersizing the way that we value our trash. So there is no real value in saving, and that's what unit-based pricing does, is it shifts that so that it makes the system more equitable and more fair for those people who are generating less. Elderly people that are living in alone and own their own home, through their taxes, they're subsidizing the generators that are either aren't trying or haven't had the time to learn about ways to divert their trash. And unit-based pricing is that engine that helps them think just slightly differently about that. We like to say trash is a public bad. It's not a public good. So your taxes pay for schools and fire department and roads and things that are public goods that help everyone in the community. But paying for more trash isn't really helping anyone. It's costly. It's also difficult, particularly difficult on the communities where landfills and incinerators are sited. And because all of that trash from all of these other places is coming to those communities. I'm working with a city in Maryland now, Greenbelt, Maryland, and the trash truck that's on its way to one of the landfills, or the rail car, always stops in their town. So they feel the effect of everybody else's trash as it comes through their community. So pounds per capita is the best way to measure how close you are to zero waste, or how much you're actually reducing your trash. And the way you figure out the pounds per capita is you look at your total waste generated in the community, and you divide that by the number of participants generating that waste. So excluding the commercial, but looking at those routes or those users of the transfer station. The average, as Jen mentioned, in Connecticut, 749 pounds per capita. When I started in solid waste 35 years ago, we were throwing away 900 pounds per capita on average in the US. And since then, we've reduced the waste, but it's taken 34 years, and we've implemented a lot of changes. We've added curbside recycling, we've added single stream, we've added extended producer responsibility, like the bottle bill. Manufacturers have lightweighted the packaging, so there's less volume. And we've had extensive education and outreach. So we have reduced our trash some on average. So we're in Connecticut right now about 749 per capita. What was great about the SMM pilots is that we saw about a 17% reduction. So as Jen mentioned, sort of the UBP light or some type of hybrid UBP program is a step toward actual real waste reduction, and really a large step. So almost equivalent to what happened over 34 years, we saw in pilots in just a short, 6 months to 3 years. What we saw from Middletown, as Jen mentioned, I guess I have a more recent number. She has 37%, or I have a number from before that, I'm not sure which. But they reduced their trash significantly over that 749 pounds per capita because they do have unit-based pricing in place. So everyone is thinking differently about their trash. We've got Kent and Madison and Guilford, which I have numbers at 40%. And I think it depends on which month we're at in our analysis, but 40% waste reduction. So again, further even than Middletown. Waste reduction from Woodbury, go Barbara, even further than the other two, and then Stonington. This is prior to the SMM pilot programs. They were at about 50% reduction, and then after the pilot programs, 55% reduction because they added in food scrap collection. So they had already reduced their trash significantly. They were already doing a lot of backyard composting. There was less food in their waste stream, but they still were able to reduce trash, again, even further. So this sort of demonstrates that power of unit-based pricing and why it's important to think of unit-based pricing with each, as you add other programs. I wanted to touch on a slide that Jen showed you. Her slide looks slightly different than mine, but if you just look at the two that I circled. I just took two random examples, but Southbury capture tool per capita. It's about 14 pounds per capita on average that's captured through the Southbury program. If you look at Deep River, oh, sorry, that one says Southbury. The Deep River, during the pilot, they captured about 65 pounds per capita on average. And again, the capture rate is based on everyone bringing waste to that facility. These are both transfer stations. Everyone bringing waste to that facility. And again, 22% of that total waste is the food scraps. And this is the capture rate of the available food scraps. So about 65 pounds per capita. So what does that mean in terms of the chart I showed you before? 749 is our average per capita. So with Southbury, you're looking at just, can't see my screen. So 1 second. Sorry, pause. Okay, with Southbury, it's about 14 pounds per capita reduction. So you can see it's when you look at in terms of all other programs, because there is no unit-based pricing involved, you're getting less. And this it's great that food scrap programs are being developed across the state, both transfer station and drop-offs, because it is bringing awareness to the importance of food scraps. But those efforts are still expensive, and you're not getting that exponential effect of having unit-based pricing with the program. And then lastly, this one shouldn't say Woodbury, because Woodbury's is actually way down there. But the capture rate for this one was the Deep River, the other pilot that we did that didn't move forward. This purple line represents their capture rate during the pilot. So just to put into perspective, the food scraps alone are not going to get you that enormous waste reduction that you're looking for over time. And wanted to just sort of quote one of my favorite people at Deep, who isn't on the call, Chris Nelson. For those of you that know him, his saying is unit-based pricing makes all programs work exponentially better. And so we did look at, do a deep dive into the Stonington waste that's currently still generated. And this is comparing the Stonington waste stream to the Connecticut average. So you can see if you just start at the bottom with paper, for instance, paper in the Connecticut average, again, this is the 2015 waste characterization, 173 pounds of paper per capita. Stonington's around 20 pounds of paper per capita. Plastics, 88 pounds per capita, and Stonington's at 10 pounds per capita. So you can see the dramatic effect that that concept of UBP pricing has on the entire waste stream, and how it helps people to think differently about everything they throw away. And then the other chart I have there is just, again, looking at the Woodbury capture rate as they were going through the pilot with their food scraps, and then that dramatic rise up after the pilot began. So that just helps to, again, tell you that unit-based pricing is the program that exponentially makes everything work better. And then that is it for me. So I'll turn it over to, I think, Barbara next.
Thanks, Kristen. Yep, we're going to hear from Barbara Perkinson, first selectman for the town of Woodbury. And Tori's gonna share Barbara's slides. Great, thanks, Tori. And you're muted, Barbara. Barbara, you're still muted.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. I presented this program in February to the Naugatuck Valley COG, and so that's why the date is February. A lot of what is in this on these slides is what Jennifer and Kristen had already said. So I'm not going to reiterate what you've already heard. The reason why we did it, we wanted to see if we could save some money and also help the environment. So those were our two motivating factors for this. Next slide, Tori. We did develop, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we participated in the pilot. We gave the bags for free. We had representative from our COG come out to the transfer station for education of the people. We had signs put up. There was assistance there, and I think that was a big reason why a lot of people did participate in the program. Okay, next slide, Tori. We did create a program that was mentioned before. We participated in the program. We did create an ad hoc waste reduction committee and made up of citizens and open to the public. And so anybody could attend those meetings and express their opinions, good or bad. I want to give thanks to that committee because without their input and their dedication to this, I don't think we would be where we are today. They also did a lot in educating the program. So we launched our permanent program in July of last year. Next slide, Tori. And we demanded a sticker. Up to this point, we charged $25 a year for the sticker. But with the unit-based pricing that we instituted, we decided, we decided that the sticker would be for free and it would last for 3 years. So that's what we did because the people were paying for the bags. We made them available to 2 vendors in town, to LeBon's, which is also in Watertown, and also to Ace Hardware here in Woodbury. Okay, and those were the prices, and they still are the prices for the bags. When we went to permanent program, we did see the waste reduction go down, and also our food scrap program was increased. And as a result, and hopefully Tori got the last slide that I sent her yesterday, you will see the savings at the town of Woodbury, about $100,000 we have saved in our costs. Okay, next slide, Tori. Again, some of these slides were shown earlier. The orange represents when the permanent program went in, and it was just up to the first 3 months, or the last 3 months of 24. You can see how the tonnage has decreased and the food scrap program is taking hold. Okay, next slide, Tori. We don't know. Some people obviously didn't like the program and went to a hauler, a private hauler. We don't have the numbers as to how many people switched over to a private hauler, but the price, my husband and I participate in this program. We know a number of people that do, and I'm telling you, the price is very reasonable compared to a private hauler coming to your home. So that was an incentive for people to participate in the program. We also have a large composting residence in Woodbury, and this just passed the information of the people who were composting for more people to do composting, and it has really taken off in town as well. Okay. And we did learn some lessons from this 1.5 year, almost 3-year program. There's never enough outreach. Education, education, education. I am a former school teacher, and I cannot stress the importance of letting people know what is happening. And no matter what venue you use, whether it's newspaper, website, or social media, people are going to say they didn't know anything about the program. So just keep advertising what you're doing. Okay, Tori, the next set of slides. This just reiterates again, and all these slides will be, from what I understand, will be made available to everybody here. We have a population of about 9,900 in town and 2,400 households. Again, I told you about the sticker price. We have bulk items that go through scrap metal, and we do have charges for, you know, tires and brush and things like that. Okay, next slide, Tori. The motivation, as I said before, was that we were hearing about the waste crisis in Connecticut, and I think people needed to know about it. In fact, It's just been on the news again last week when I was watching the news at home that we do have a waste crisis in Connecticut, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Okay, next slide. Again, I'm telling you, the stickers are free. They're good for 3 years, and the price of the bags, the vendors do not up the price of the bags. We do have a separate dumpster for the green. They don't need the bags either. They can just dump them right into the bin. And we do use the orange bags for the trash. Our recycling has gone up, as somebody mentioned before, and that is also proof in the numbers that I will give you. Okay, next slide. From a town perspective, I can't say enough about it. It's worth what people are doing. Do we have some naysayers? Yes, we do. We always will. But I think those are few and far between. I think the residents are now more used to it. It's behavior modification that they have to get used to. In fact, I was just at the transfer station this morning, and I asked our director, Public Works Director, how is the program going? And he said it seems it's going well, and there's very, very few violators. Next slide. And again, this, I believe you saw this slide as well, that our food scrap diversion has gone way up and the tonnage has gone down. Next slide, Tori. The results, you can read them for yourself. We have, according to my Public Works Director this morning, he said we have about 99% compliance now, so that 95 has gone up. We don't know how many residents have switched to private haulers. And again, I tell you that there's never enough outreach. Education is key to this. We had workshops with kids, with adults. COG was wonderful in coming out and explaining the program to us. Next slide, Tori. This is the chart that I just received yesterday. And you can see, and this is only for the first quarter of this year. So it's only from January until March. And you can see the numbers have gone down. Our MSW has been reduced almost in half. Organics, we're still working on that. The bulky has gone down. The single stream recycling has gone down slightly. The tipping fees are the same. But as I did say in our budget, when we did the budget, working on the budget for 25-26, the PW department told us that they have saved $100,000, and it's a reduction of $100,000 in that particular line item for our budget. So I can't say enough about the program, and I hope more people will at least give it a try. What have you got to lose except trash and save some money? So thank you. If I went too fast, I'm sorry, but all these slides will be available to everybody.
Thanks, Barbara. That was great. I really appreciate it. Next up, we have Janice Plasiak from the town of Guilford. And I think Janice is going to share her slides.
Okay.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, Janice Plasiak, town of Guilford. I oversee the combined Guilford-Madison waste transfer station, and we participated in the SMM grant for co-collection program, which included food scrap collection at the waste transfer station when we first started. That program picked up over time in terms of people really enjoying the ability to separate out their food scraps. And we do have a very large composting community in town as well, because we tend to be a little more rural and have some larger lots. And there's been a lot of outreach by our Sustainable Guilford to try and increase composting in town. Co-collection in town had its challenges because we're a hauler-based community. We had one hauler who just really wasn't doing it, another hauler that was trying to do it, but then had to kind of scale back to do it in some form or fashion. And then, of course, the challenges we had with separating facility really kind of brought our co-collection program to a close. But we continue to see food scrap collection at the waste transfer station to really continue to rise month by month. So we started exploring changing our already pay-as-you-throw weight system at the transfer station to a pay-as-you-throw system by volume, and going to the unit-based price bags. We explored that with our waste transfer station committee. That committee kind of oversees fees and such at our transfer station and was already in place. So it was tasked by our Board of Selectmen to explore the unit-based pricing program at the transfer station. We had previously charged $9 per 100 pounds for trash disposal. So people tended to hoard their trash to get their money's worth to come to the transfer station. We thought this might be a program that would be a little fairer to a lot more people, because come to find out, we were able to charge $3 for a 33-gallon bag and $1.50 for a 13-gallon bag. And I think people are actually, in the long run, not only because they're doing more recycling and food scrap collecting, but they're also saving money because of our previous, minimum of $9 charge when you came to the transfer station. The transfer station committee made the recommendation, after working with Waste Zero and myself, to kind of formulate what it would be for the program. Made the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen at Guilford, who makes the final decisions. However, we did also include the Board of Selectmen in Madison, because their residents also use the transfer station, and they pay into the running of the transfer station. So both boards of selectmen unanimously approved the changeover, and working with Waste Zero, we kind of had a short timeline, I think a little shorter than we should have, but we made it work. It was just baptism by fire with this one, and we got it off and running. We did some good outreach with flyers that also obviously explained the food scrap program, which just continued to rise. But also, I think a lot of people just really weren't doing single stream recycling and aware of all the other options that we have at the transfer station. So the flyers really were informative and helpful to people who are users of the transfer station to really make the most of the program and increase their recycling. We also had this flyer made, which people love and continue to give out today, and all our town facilities, town hall, and the transfer station, which really just does focus on what's available for recycling at our transfer station and reducing waste. And it's been well received, and our results kind of show it. We had some unique aspects of our transfer station. We had, which I didn't account for when we were formulating the program, we had pre-sold tickets for people so that they can buy tickets ahead of time and then just bring the ticket instead of paying the $9 fee. So we had that group of users that we ultimately decided that they could either trade in their tickets for bags, or they can continue to use their tickets. So some of our data was a little skewed at the beginning months because people who chose to still use their tickets weren't really participating in the program. So as we get into these later months, I'm still curious to continue to do some analysis to see really how much effect that has. We're also anticipating summer residents coming into town soon and trying to educate those folks who may not be aware of the program. Maybe they have some tickets to use up, and hopefully can get them on board to the program as well, as seamlessly as possible. We had someone at the transfer station 2 weeks prior and 2 weeks following the launch of the program. I got personally a lot of feedback. It tends to be at the beginning of the program, negative feedback, people not liking the program. But I think it just is a matter of time once they get used to it and then start realizing maybe they could save money, that those complaints have lessened or basically gone away. Have gotten some really great positive feedback from the folks who are seeing a savings and feel like they're doing a good thing with the program. So here's some of the metrics. We got this from Waste Zero, so you've seen some of this already in today's presentation. But we basically are seeing about a 36% decrease in MSW over the first 3 months, and that's November, December, January. We're looking to get some more information from February and March to really see how that's changing, and I think going into the summer months will be a good tell for us. That's when our station tends to be the busiest. And then we saw an increase in our single stream recycling of about 16%. And anecdotally, the folks who work at the transfer station are just amazed at how much things have changed. We have basically only 3 trailers of trash going out monthly, where we used to have 6 to 7 trailers monthly. And the hauling company is trying to keep up with the amount of recycling that is going out of the facility as well. In this process, we lost one of our attendants at the transfer station. He left voluntarily, but it was planned that we would by attrition lose one because we had a collection person just on a side window collecting that $9. So with the unit-based pricing, we saw the opportunity of savings for the transportation operations of at least one employee. Once that employee decided to leave, we didn't need to replace that employee. So just in that alone, we're going to see a huge savings and expenditures for the transfer station. In addition, obviously, to the waste reduction cost savings, and we're one of the strange towns who still gets a slight rebate on our recycling, single stream recycling. We have a great contract that I hate to see expire in 2027. So, with that, with the increase to recycling, we're also seeing an increase in that revenue. And then here's the food scrap analytics for the program. We did start with the program back in November of 23, just at the transfer station. But obviously, once we adopted the pay-as-you-throw program, it really skyrocketed. We've gone from I think we had like 4 toters or 6 toters to now we have 2 large dumpsters at the transfer station, containers that get picked up by Blue Earth. So it's been a great increase. And then you can see the shift kind of MSW disposal, single stream recycling for the 3-month analysis that has been done to date, and the increase in the food scraps. And then I got this yesterday, I think, or the day before, from Blue Earth, which was great to receive, and I wanted to share with this presentation. Is we've composted a significant amount of waste, making a huge impact on the environment. And I think that's very important to our citizens here in town. We are doing a focus group committee now, working with SCROG and DEEP with some grant monies to explore trying to do a co-collection program in town, because we do have the majority of folks in town using haulers, and when the pilot program really had to end earlier than we wanted, we had the feedback that people would like to see that as an option, because not everyone has the time to go to the transfer station with their food scraps and their trash and recycling. So we're hopeful that this focus group, and working with the team, we'll be able to formulate some way to offer co-collection to our residents as well. And that's it.
Fabulous. Thank you, Janice. Looking forward to hearing how that goes over the next few months for your subscription curbside program. Great. Woodbury and Janice and Barbara, thank you so much. That was really great. I wanted to mention quickly about DEEP's upcoming grant program. It has not been announced yet. Before we get into questions, it's kind of being tagged as the SMM round 2. However, it has been expanded in scope. But if you are at all interested in exploring and applying, especially for the programs you're hearing about today, unit-based pricing and food scrap collection, keep an eye out for that. I was told it was going to be announced this week. This week's not over yet, but keep an eye out for that that press release. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick a couple questions out of here because I know we have about 8 minutes left. We do want to end on time today. So first one will I'll since Barbara's here, I'm gonna ask Barbara, how did Woodbury save 100,000? Did your carting company acknowledge volume reduction right away and give you a reduction in fees immediately, or how were the savings actually realized? Did you have to renegotiate the hauling contract at all? So I guess maybe explain where that $100,000 savings came from. And you're on mute. Barbara, you're muted.
My apologies again. I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries.
No, we did not renegotiate the contract. We didn't open it up. It was just simply a reduction or reduction in the tonnage that we had. Taking the food scraps out reduced obviously that tonnage.
Right. And so John Cattell asked, where do the Woodbury trash haulers take their MSW to? And I guess we'll narrow that. Where does the transfer station's MSW get sent to?
I believe I don't really know for sure, but I believe it goes to Waterbury. The food scraps go to Quantum in Southington. Okay.
Great.
Yep.
And then while you're still unmuted, does your transfer station accept exclusively residential materials, or do you also accept commercial materials? That was
We
a
accept
question
commercial as well. They pay
You
a
do.
higher fee. They pay the fee for the sticker, the permit.
Okay, and Janice, same question over to you. Does the Guilford Madison transfer station accept exclusively residential or also commercial and small business?
We accept whoever comes in the door and pays. So, or now at this point uses the bags as well. So that's one of my goals since taking over is trying to come up with a sticker system to, we suspect we have some neighboring towns who use our facility as well. Yeah.
And for Kent, I don't know, Kristen, if you remember, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know the data that we're sharing here is residential data from the transfer station.
Residential, no large commercial. It could be that small commercial brings it in, but they would have to use the bags. Kent
Okay.
also has a sticker fee. So it's a sticker
Actually,
fee plus a bag.
I didn't even look to see if anyone from Kent or HRA was on. Just scrolling through here. Pippa Bell Adder asks, the data from the SMM pilots could actually hinder the adoption of UBP. How does DEEP plan to communicate to municipalities a significant decrease in solid waste when UBP bags must be purchased? I think we're sharing the SMM pilot results because it's a step in the right direction. Implementing the voluntary unit-based pricing and food scrap collection elements are a step in the right direction. It did address and result in some waste reduction and diversion. And the data shows that obviously a full mandatory program will result in a much more significant savings. And how are we planning on communicating that? I mean, if you have any other thoughts, but we have a final report coming out, and we also have been sharing this data through our channels, through Sustainable CT and through SWAC, our Solid Waste Advisory Committee meetings, and our CCSMM channels. I hope I answered. Pippa, raise your hand if you have any other clarifying words on that. Also, if anyone has questions, they can raise their hand. Over to the top. Can you go into more detail about what caused such a low reduction in Meriden and the other communities to highlight how not to do it? Great question. Meriden in particular had a bunch of turnover in staff And we saw that that was some consistent with some of the other programs that concluded. So, which is why one of our top recommendations is to have champions in your town and within your staff to kind of carry the program, to lead and make sure that they're educating internally, and that there's this consistent champion in your town. Kristen, I don't know if you wanted to share anything else about.
Yeah, so with Meriden, it did get off to a slow start. So we doubled up on the outreach, if you recall. So it doesn't really show in the results, because once we got into the groove with additional outreach, we did see the food scrap capture rate go up significantly, and the waste reduction begin coming down. So I'd say just the way that the outreach was conducted was a little different than some of the others and just didn't catch on as quickly. So, but because of the turnover in staff, they ended up abandoning the program really just after 5 months. So we didn't have a lot of time to, once we saw that, those numbers start to go up, meaning the food scrap capture go up and the waste start to come down, that's when they decided, that it wasn't worth the time at DPW to continue. So that was unfortunate, and that sort of goes into the champion and the turnover, and it's just hard to, having strong champions and a strong sustainability sort of committee behind the program is really helpful. We did see out of the 15 pilots, and I can't remember the number, but I mean a lot of turnover in staff, and that means that your champions need to run deep. You need more than just one. Deep is a pun, but you need several, and you need kind of a committee behind it. And then and that's where what again to me was so surprising, and why I think these pilots were really the best I've ever seen in my 35-year career. Having 8 communities basically move forward with the program out of 15 is a huge number. Move forward with a permanent program. The champion, the sustainability committee, and in Janice's case, the advisory committee, transfer station advisory committee, having those committees really behind this is really, really critical.
Jess, do we have quite time for one quick question from Jean? Or do you want
Let's
to
do
wrap it
one
up?
more question. Jean, you're going to
Okay.
wrap us up today.
I'm curious, all the bag programs are measured in terms of volume, whereas trash collection is traditionally reported by weight. So I'm wondering, we have automatic trucks that pick up our bins and dump them. And I could see those trucks equipped with a scale that measures the weight and knows the weight of the empty bin and could actually report by weight. I think Guilford was originally paying by weight, or residents were paying by weight. How's the weight programs work? I mean, that seems to be the fairer way to charge.
So I'll take that quickly. So weight at the transfer station is a little different, where Janice, they were weighing the bags or the material that came in that was dropped off. Weight at the curbside is super difficult. And if you feel like making a lot of money, and if you're an engineer, you can sit back and try to figure out how to develop that scale on the truck. Because over my 35 years, many companies have tried. I think the tough part is, and when you think about the trash truck, is it's going over bumpy roads. You've got salt, you've got all this, stuff. So think about your scale system, and even like your bathroom scale. Like when I weigh myself in the morning, I kick it a bunch of times, because if I do, I weigh less. So, it's like, the scale is a very, very sensitive, unit way to measure. And I believe in most states, and it may not be across the country, but in most states, the weights and measures, they require the ability for a person to watch the weighing process. So if someone disputes their bill, you have no, like, if you're weighing your roast beef, you can see right there, oh, that doesn't look like it's a pound, maybe you're cheating me. You have the ability to look at what's happening. With collection at 5 a.m, people aren't standing out there. So far today, we haven't discovered a weight-based way. it's not to say that there isn't one. So, I think, if in your spare time you can develop one, obviously we can shoot people up in rockets to wherever. So I'm sure we can figure out how to weigh trash. But today it doesn't exist. But good question.
I think it's good to end with a forward-looking opportunity. So I just want to thank our speakers, thank the attendees for joining us this morning. Thanks, Jen, for being our MC. This has been really interesting. So there's great results. We can see them from our sister cities in Connecticut. I know we didn't have time to get through everyone's questions, but we will be sending out the recording, the slide deck. And if anyone wants to maybe connect with the speaker, connect with us, and we can see if they'd be willing to answer some questions on the side. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope everyone goes outside, enjoys the sunshine, and has a wonderful Earth Month. So thank you and take care, everybody.